Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise.
It's elementary school. What's going on here?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Makes me the principal officer. I am also a former UPS employee. I began my career there in 1990, March 9th of 1990. Seems like it was yesterday. Apparently it was 35 years ago. All right, so the reason we want to get you guys all here, there's some changes that are happening this month coming up, and there'll be some more changes next year. So we wanted to get you guys as much information as we have at this time, so you guys can make decisions about your careers and futures. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as we initially thought it was going to be. The change is going to be not as big. For feeder drivers, for package drivers, will be minimal change. It's our part-time employees that are really, things are going to be changing for them a lot. So the company notified us around May 15th that they would be changing the operation. They would be moving some work to the Lathrop building, which reminds me, as I took the bed, I didn't introduce Ezekiel and Bill John back there. Everyone say hello. What's up? Ezekiel is the business agent for Local 439. He has the Lathrop building, and I wanted him to come down here too, so if there were part-time employees or feeder drivers who are following work, we'd be able to talk to them directly. Get phone numbers, business card, whatever. So the company notified us they would be changing the SAC Twilight Night, how things operate. They are going to be combining the two shifts. So I think what they're saying is the SAC Night no longer exists. It's going to be 1 8-hour SAC Twilight. Those employees who are affected, right, will have bumping rights, and they don't want to follow the work. I believe they're moving 31,800 packages to Lathrop.
Yes, the 27 can follow.
Which would allow 27 part-time employees to follow the work down there. Okay, we're going to maintain all the full-time work here. The company also notified us that they were going to be taking 120 part-time shifts and turning them into full-time shifts. Okay? Which is a very good thing for us, right? We want the full-time job. We want people that are working part-time to have that opportunity to be full-time employees. 78 part-timers will remain exactly where they are at, if they want to, right? It will all be based on seniority, so they will still be able to be part-time employees in the hub, but 120 will be switched into 60 full-time jobs, right? That leads us to the heartburn here. There's about 103 jobs that aren't accounted for, which UPS believes people at the bottom of the seniority list will be getting laid off, okay? I don't think it'll be that bad because if you think about it, every year, how many part-time employees do you see come and go, right? The attrition just through hiring and people leaving is going to swallow that 103 number up pretty quickly. We know this is very difficult, right? It's going to change people's lives. It's going to benefit some people greatly when they're full-time, and it's going to make things more difficult for people who are working part-time. As far as the feeder work, 4 jobs are going. SAC Pollard 2, SAC Pollard 6, and 2 shift jobs. The shift jobs, I believe I saw them were 4:30 in the afternoon and
2:30. Starting at 2nd at 4:30. They'll be starting at Lathrop at 2 and 2:30.
At 2 and 2:30. Right. So we come to an agreement with the company that they're going to send the 4 jobs down there plus 2 relief drivers to cover the relief work. That bid should be up now. So should have went up on Friday night.
I think it went up Thursday. It went up right. It went up Thursday.
Okay. It may have gone up Thursday. They sent it to me at 1:14 in the morning Friday. So, that's where we're at. There's going to be another change next year. Okay? They're going to be automating the Sacramento building. They've been talking about doing it for 5 or 6 years now. Now they're actually going to do it. They had told us unofficially that there are 3 options for them. None of them are great options. The first option is to shut the building down completely, move everything into the Lathrop building. They can't actually do it though. The reason why is you can't send a package driver from Lathrop to deliver in Sacramento. He's got 2 hours of drive. Right? So if you move 250 package routes down there, you're adding a couple hours in the transit minimum. They'll never be able to do it. So the IE people tell us it's just not going to work out. That's not going to be possible. The second option is to shut half of the building down and run out of half of it. Right? So they would shut side 1 through 9 down possibly, automate that in half the load walls, and then run everything out of the other side. And then once that was completed, switch everything back and do the same thing all over again. They said that would take about 8 months. That's not a great option for them either, because you work in the building, you see how much shit they're trying to shove through that little building as it is. It's not cutting it in half is going to solve that problem. The third option is to put what they call a village out at the Mather, or the Metro Air Parkway building that they have, and run out of there while they automate the West Sac building, which is said would take 6 months, and they get it all done. That's probably the best option for us. They have issues with the transit trailers from Metro Air Parkway to Lathrop, Fresno, and Visalia. That's their concerns. Right? Can they get the volume out of there into those locations quick enough? So there's just not a lot of really good options. The other thing they're telling us, once this process is all finished, more volume will be coming back into Sacramento than left. So we'll be gaining more work when this process is over. So in the long term, it looks much better for us than the short term. But over the next year and a half, it's going to make it. Does anybody have any questions on this?
So they automate everything. What do you do with all them jobs? Where's all the sorters going to go?
I don't know. I don't know what their
I mean, I'm not a sorter. I'm just asking because a lot of my friends are. So like they're taking all them jobs. They took the e-rig driver job. Just like all our jobs is getting taken by robots.
Right. Well,
what do we pay all these union dues for and everything? We're just kind of just getting screwed.
What's that?
I said, we pay all these union dues and stuff, we're just getting screwed kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, I want to make it very clear. The union isn't making these changes to the companies, right? And what I'll tell you is what has happened, and I know in the North Bay building, when they automated it, they actually ended up with more jobs after automation than they had going into it. Ezekiel could probably speak on some of the jobs that we actually gained through automation. His building is 100% automated, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so what did they do to sort? Did you lose the sorters and they went into other areas of the building? Or
Correct. That's basically what happened. So we gained more jobs. In actuality, instead of losing them, they just went to different areas. They went to different metros, different PDs. So that's kind of how we actually gained more. Even though it doesn't seem like it's automation, but we've gained more over
yeah,
time.
and it's my understanding, Ezekiel, that in these automated buildings, they actually have people that are paid to stand at the belt and just make sure the labels
Yes.
are
So we just started
oriented in the direction.
Well, I can stand there and do nothing. I'm good at that. I'm good at that. Real good at that.
Yeah, when we go back to the building, those jobs that got 2 part-times that was converted to full-time, will those full-timers have to go back to part-time? Or are we going to keep those?
No, we're going to keep them. Because, so the contract, the master contract doesn't allow them to disband these jobs. You have to maintain them.
So the question is, if everything's, work's going over to Lathrop, we only have so many full-timers that be part-timers. What about as feeders when there's no work? There's going to be, who knows how many of us entering into the hub. I don't know how the
So as a feeder driver, you're a full-time driver. If you're not package qualified, you get sent back to the hub and they have to work you full-time.
But what if there's not enough work? I mean, do we just sit around and we're going to get paid, or do we have to sweep, or what's going to be the deal?
This is the deal. So layoffs, first people to be laid off are part-time employees at the bottom of the seniority list, right? And then it works its way up to full-time. If you're currently a feeder driver, and you get sent back to the building and they don't have work for you, that's a bigger problem. That's a problem that UPS is failing. It's not going to be around much. You understand? That there's still going to be, how many freeloaders we have? What about out there? About 250 freeloaders?
Yeah, about 250 altogether.
And then there's 78 people that will be remaining part-time on the twat, right? That's 325 people that have to be laid off prior to a full-time.
Yeah.
I have a question. So do you happen to know, worst case scenario, there's going to be a layoff, what is the number like for
Yes.
seniority? Is it 7? Is it 5 years? Is it 7?
Oh, it's way less than that.
So I'll elaborate on that. So it's basically together all 128 people at the end of the day. Once everything gets figured out, I do have seniority lists back there. The company should be putting the seniority between the hub and the preload together by next week. And so
Right on.
just go up 128 and you'll kind of know where you stand. Walk 128. But that so you guys, hold on. You guys gotta also think. Hey, you guys gotta also think we're going into July, sick days, vacations. So that number's gonna go down, obviously, right? Yeah. And we all know nothing goes smooth in there where they're gonna have to call people out. So that number's gonna go down.
We don't know what the number is because it all depends. Again, with the top three north side, what do you choose to do? Right? And as it works, it's going down. Right? We don't know who those people are.
Very reassuring, gentlemen.
Ezekiel had something.
I don't have none of my feeder guys laid off. Well, and if they do get laid off, we would have, you get 22-3 basically. You're going to get 8 hours no matter what off the bat. I have so many part-timers where if you're a feeder driver, you're going to displace 2 part-timers to get your 8 hours no matter what. So.
It's the same thing that happens within the West Side. We have the same contract, same health and welfare trust, same pension, everything's identical.
Are the company going to offer us senior drivers or senior employees a golden handshake offers?
I got it. He asked how does this affect the preload? When we get into a layoff situation, we can't lay off, they have to lay off in seniority order the entire building. So that number of 103 is not strictly twilight employees, it is not strictly night employees, it's not strictly preload employees, it is all 3 sorts combined. Okay? That's how it works.
Is there any vacancy in another company under the same logo?
What's that?
Is there any
Vacancies, we have, come and talk to us, yeah, we have, I don't know who's hiring right now, but we have 88 contracts here that we represent the members.
To follow up on that last question, you're combining all 3, picking the highest seniority on that section. So that means preload is going to be able to be part of the full-time option?
Correct.
Yes, they have to offer all full-time work. First, the way the contract works is all full-time work is offered to full-time employees first, and then it goes to part-time employees. So they've committed that the 60 part-timers will be made into full-time employees.
So that's half of the offers that you have for part-time to full-time, those 60 that are full-time. Take up 60 of the 120 number we were talking about.
I'm not sure I understand.
That are consistently already full-time.
Well, if full-time, they're gonna transition 60 part-time employees into full-time. They posted up a bunch of jobs, and if full-time employees are taking those, they're still going to fill 60 spots of part-time employees to cover work.
employees.
And so let me explain something to you. There's a lot of unassigned feeder drivers, right, that don't have actual bids. They have a right to bid this work just in case they get sent back to the hub. They don't get sent back to the hub as much as the company. Probably more than the company wants them to, but while they're not doing their bid job, somebody has to do that full-time work. There'll be a part-time employee that can do that.
And are we going to put up a 223 relief bid for if package or feeder drivers take these jobs? Are they going to?
I don't know if it'll be a 223 relief bid because they're going to be full-time, right? They're just going to be made full-time, and the sort will have to plug them in wherever they need them during the day. Does that make sense?
But you still work for the cost.
For package?
No. That's
They're still preloader, part-time preload employees, and there will still be 78 part-time flight employees.
And the agreement does allow 22-3s to work on Mondays and Saturdays. We have a MOU. So that does allow you guys to go full-time to work those days.
After this is all said and done, like, will they let us know if we're like, or not? Like,
Yeah, there should be a bid going up. There should have been a bid placed for the work already.
Yeah, so they're gonna start calling those bids next week. After they get those bids done, they're gonna get a hold of the Laker people that wanna go to Laker. There's only 11 to 15 on there anyways, so that's gonna go pretty quick. And then they'll get to you guys on they're gonna get to you guys who wants to stay on the twilight and who wants to stay on the night. And then we'll go through the layout after that.
Now that.
So just for clarification, between preload and the twilight, there's going to be, you said 100 and something.
No, there's 78 part-timers that are going to be on the twilight. And then there will be whatever preload. It's not affecting the part-timers on the preload at all.
Okay, so what I've been being told, and it's getting just postponed until we're like 2 or 3 weeks away from the July 14th date. You'll be able to bump for preload, or you'll be able to, and it's just not giving us or me a lot of time to prepare. Like, we have a new system where we're all punching in our time on the computer and stuff. It's not like we're looking at timesheets, see if people are doubling, or, like, we're able to check for seniority. So, how are we to go about, I want to transfer or I want a part-time job, but somebody is working after the July 14th date, and I don't know that they have less seniority. Like, do we just show up to the hub and see other people working that have less seniority? Like, or is it like double where they're getting called in, or they're working harder, working new people due to high seniority?
So are you talking about like as far as the layout part, or yeah, so I'll get the layout list. They'll give that to me, if it changes, I'll get the layout list when it first comes out. If it changes, they update me on that layout list. So you guys can get a hold of me anytime and find out. If you're not sure, get a hold of me. And I also got a lot of communication with the stewards. We'll also have that list.
This is all going to be worked out in 2.5 weeks.
At 1:14 in the morning, it's on its way together. That's when I got the email telling us what we had. He couldn't get it to us because the district scheduler IE guy was actually on vacation. Good for him. This is the deal. Nobody's going to be laid off until after the bids are filled. Right? So that's going to be the first process. How many part-time employees, which of the part-time employees are taking those full-time bids? Which ones are going to stay part-time, and which ones are going to go to so after all of that is done, then they're going to start figuring out, okay, who's bumping into the preload, or vice versa, right? And then from there, who will be laid off?
But just, we have these lists out, but like, what are they actually telling us?
Well, so those are seniority lists. One's for the hub and the rest for the preload. Kind of get an idea. They're going to put up a part-time list from all 3 shifts together by next week. So that will tell you, you just go from the bottom up and kind of know where you land at as far as the layout side.
Yeah, Malachi, you can look at your seniority list on the night, right? And then the TWI, and then look at the preload, and you can see everybody who's been hired below you and give you a pretty good idea where you fall as far as if you're one of the 7 days that will stay, or one of the that will go to preload or follow the work, or where you're going to land.
So the twine and the night is together already.
You can always come down here and work.
And it's also posted also, but the twine and night are together. We're going to combine that list with the preload sometime by next week.
Yeah, I realize that's where, you know, our seniority together lies, and where that, how that coincides with the layoffs themselves, like availability.
We should know more this week after those bids are being filled.
How many people that actually work there?
What about Mather? Are they supposed to be on our spots too?
Mather is really on the
So how do we know? So how do we know how many of them are going to come over? I mean, you guys got our seniority list over here, but I can't look into Mather.
So I'll tell you right now, there's only one high seniority that signed over there. Everybody else is under 5 years. As far as that. They're used to explaining it. When they come to a job over here, they're not used to it, so it's a lot worse. They understand that. They want to work the west side. Right, they don't. That's easy.
I'm going back to the
Hold on, Robert.
I think what he's asking for is that trust but verify. So who's verifying who's working and who's not with seniority? I think that's what you're asking, right?
Your business agent, your stewards will be going through the list as they go.
Yeah, so the supers go through it, and then I overlook it too. We go through it and talk about it and to make sure everything's right. So yeah, I'll be involved with that.
With the combination of twilight and night, do you know what those hours are? Is it going to move a little ahead? Is it going to move backwards? You know, as far as
They haven't told us when the TWI will be started, but once it starts, it'll go for a span, have an hour lunch, and then finish up.
Do you know that impact feeder driver as far as our start times? Will that kind of change up when we start, so it lines up a little bit more?
I don't know if it'll change the feeder driver start times, to be honest, because I think that there isn't going to be a drastic change in what time the TWI starts and what time the night starts, right? It's going to come in somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m. for the TWI and 11, around 11, 11:30. I don't know what time the night shift starts.
Night shift starts right now about 11:15, 11:30.
Yeah, so it's most likely going to be very similar, right? Because they're literally just combining the 2 shifts into one with an hour break in between.
So just to confirm, there's no sleepers moving, right? No sleepers are moving.
So that means we're going to cut that 11:45 night start?
I don't know.
Cause that shit. Hey, look it. So look it. The only thing is, cause sometimes TWI goes down 9:30. I'm sitting there for 2 fucking hours not doing shit.
With that's worked out already.
I mean, like, fuck, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then look, I got another question. So, what about when all this shit hits the fucking fan, right? There's a lot of people, I'm not gonna say no names, all full-timers that only come half the shift. And I'm not talking about no fucking RTO. I mean, I ain't seen people for 3, 4, 5 years on the night, and they don't even come. So they're gonna have to come to work?
They shouldn't be coming to work.
They don't. They don't. I'm not gonna say no names.
You don't want to say no names.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't. They don't come. They don't come.
You should say the name so we have to. So when they try and fire
I just have a question about the next year plan. You said that they would automate half the building?
That's one of their options. They haven't told us what they're going to do. We probably won't know until January. They intend to begin that process in February, but UPS is in a place right now that really, they're not sure what they're doing, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, the Rancho Cordova building looks like it runs like half the West Sac building. So, like, maybe
It doesn't run anywhere near it.
no.
It's tiny. It's not even close. Hey, Dale.
Yeah. On his his question, is sending us to Lathrop one of the options for that time?
You can follow what part-timers?
No, for the, so if we go full-time and then they automate for that year or whatever, is a possibility they send us to Lathrop for a year and
Yes, I believe what I said, that the option was to shut the building down completely, send everything to Lathrop. That was one option. That's the least likely, because it's something they cannot operate on, right? They cannot make service on packages. I don't know, anybody, people outside of the feeder department probably won't understand this. The company, over the last few years, has spent hundreds of millions of dollars creating sleeper teams, right? To improve their service, to get packages from one location to the other faster than anybody else can, right? They want to be the best at it. So they spend hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. We sit in the best location in Northern California. There's a Redding building, a Chico building, a Grass Valley building, and a Quincy building. If they shut our night sort down completely, they cannot service those places.
Oh, okay.
So it adds 1 day in transit. So they just spent hundreds of millions of dollars to make it better. They're not going to make it worse.
That doesn't fit with what they're trying to do right now.
Right. Okay. So that is what their problem is. And listen, everything UPS does is about their stock price at this point. Right? When I got hired there, it was they kind of pretended to be a family business, right? They cared about you and your family, and they were the only game to share. They went public some years later. Since then, it's become about their stock price.
Okay.
People talk about this Carol Tomei, she's ruining the company, she's doing this. She was brought in to make the stock price better. It was $68 a share when she came in. It's at 100 right now, and it's actually down from where it was. Okay. So as far as the corporate people look at it, like she's the king of business out of the park, right?
Got it. Yeah.
But as far as us, it's limiting what we do.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So hold on.
Just a quick question. It doesn't really apply to me, but maybe a little indirectly. Now that we're going to be a full-time shift, 8 hours, there is no adequate break facilities at the West Sacramento building. Right. And they can't just, is there like legal language in the labor department stuff?
What California
they're going to have to do something
is a temperature-controlled environment. Right.
I'm just curious, find a way to deal with that. They're just having people take breaks on the belts and stuff, and there's not room in that break room for people to have their meal. Man, we're close to
That's something we'll start working on actually next week. I'll put that into the company and let's start going forward with that. You're right on that.
I will tell you, the break room is actually half the size of Easton when I got hired now. And guess what?
That's over.
Guess what? Everyone took their breaks down on the belts anyway.
I don't. Come on. I hate the guys who are talking about no one else to go for.
He's hungry.
Somebody at supervisor should be pissing me off, okay? Like they do on a personal level. So what does that mean for Twilight? What does that mean for night? Are they gonna get canned, some of these MFers? Some of these schools from the night or Twilight? Or
I have no idea what their plan is with their management.
Okay, so they might, after 1 or 4 hours, they might go, okay, you guys are gone, and then the hour break, and then that's what they probably.
It has nothing to do with us, right?
I know, but I just wanted to know.
Their management team.
Take the job, Barry.
You know, that's the name that it's like I'm always hearing.
Okay. When the people that go to Lathrop, will they be the first ones offered to come back to SAC when they're all done?
I have no idea. We haven't discussed that. Are you talking about?
Some people may decide.
Hold on. Are you talking about next year when they automate the building?
Well, let's just keep it general. If I have to go to Lathrop,
if you follow feeder work to Lathrop,
I'm looking at part-timers who may not be thinking about this. They may have to follow the work or go to Lathrop.
If they move work back, they'll be able to follow based on their seniority at that location.
Okay, so once they get there, if there's a whole bunch of people higher than them.
If you got hired 10 years ago in Sacramento, and you decide to follow work to Lathrop, you're going to have 10 years of seniority in Lathrop. If they move work from Lathrop, you'll be able to use that seniority to follow the work if you choose. Okay? This is a situation where you're not transferring, you're taking work out of here. If you follow it, your original hire date is your seniority date.
Piggyback on that, and not so much for myself, but clarification for everyone. If someone were to follow the Peter job, that's not for the year. They're talking about permanent.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And I think I've heard ramblings of guys that think that they can bid these labor jobs, it's going to be a year, and they're going to come back. And that's not what bids are.
Not at this point. Maybe when they go to automate the building in February of next year, we haven't sat down and talked to them about it. They haven't even decided what they want to do yet.
Right.
And my guess is they won't decide until the very last minute. They'll flip the coin and say, all right, that's what we're doing. Maybe we'll. Yeah.
Have you started making phone calls yet to fill over 60 full-time jobs?
No, they have not. They're off. The person that's supposed to do was off last week, right? So we're gonna take care of this issue.
We're starting this out.
Bail us out and all the managers on vacation? Do it. Take a vacation, man. It's not for every time you leave.
Yeah.
What do you think they said in the pit when you go?
It's based on who has the lowest seniority employees.
Yeah, my company.
And who wants to say, we won't know until
Musical chairs. Steve. Hey, let's play musical chairs.
Once that is done, we'll know the bumping.
I feel bad when you're sitting in a chair and you're standing. You see him lunch.
The vision manager don't know. The comment in the hub, that's the hub. The vision manager said they could get extended, so it could be. I don't know. They're real slow right now.
So they said 78 part-time.
Back there.
So I'm kind of speaking for everyone less than a year. So my question is, if all the people that's near that they get laid off and they get called back, because we probably know everyone that worked peak season, we need more workers. Will they keep us, or are they going to just lay us off again after peak season is over?
No idea what their operational needs will be.
Okay.
So I do know this. I was told they anticipate a 3% decline in volume this peak over last year.
Last year was not.
It's not the best fucking news of the year.
So on the layout,
I was driving.
I'm not going to.
Dale, on the layoff, does the 2 years rule still apply? So if they gotta hire the laid off 3 years before they go off and hire other people off the street. So you could be on a layoff list for 3 years and they can call you back and come back to work.
People aren't going to be laid off for 3 years.
But I'm just saying, you could be on it for 3 years.
On the layoff. So on the layoff list, so when they do need people, they gotta go by seniority from that layoff list. So the layoff list, and then we'll be involved with that layoff list and involved when they do have to start calling people back also. But they have to go by seniority when they start needing staffing.
If they call you back, I'm already working somewhere else. I'm sorry, I can't come in. Yep. Fuck you.
The other 60. They said 120.
If you get laid off, you'll get
But yeah, no, for sure.
Still doesn't make me feel safe. 2.5 years? About as long as I have?
fill that the 31,000 passable? Or are they potentially going to be moving more feet around in the next?
They haven't said anything about moving any more feet around.
What are we here for? They haven't said anything.
Is we're going to actually have to add something around. Because initially they were going to try and run two Mather jobs out of Lathrop to come up to Mather and pull trailers. But that turned into a nightmare logistically for them. They couldn't do it. So most likely what's going to happen is they're going to figure out, they're going to add one or two more feeder jobs to cover that work to take it to Lathrop. Right, so instead of having the Lathrop driver chase the load up here, bringing him up here to grab the load, have us take the load. But they haven't worked those details. But initially, there was going to be two more jobs going down the Lathrop. They called me back, said, we're not going to do that. We can't do that.
And real quick, off the subject real quick. If you're parked across the street, so on this side, if you're parked across the street, there's a patrol going around giving tickets for people parked across the street. By 11. Yeah. So it's at 11 o'clock, you got to move by 11. Is it on this side?
That's right, I here. Nope, I'm there. Isn't that like half of us in the building?
What else? Same thing. I have no idea what it's parked.
You were feeling just sitting all there.
Guys, please.
Right now. For the Lathrop building, is there a lot more opportunities to like learn how to drive the feeder or like drive the get it like a Class A license and things
Probably.
like that?
It's a much larger building. They're putting a much larger amount of work into that building.
Okay.
Why in the fucking you don't know? Nobody wants to go. Of course there's 6 years.
No, but what we will do is we will work out you transferring you to those locations. Right, if they have people they need to hire there, we will make sure anybody on our layoff list gets hired. If I transfer, I can lose my seniority. If you transfer, you lose the seniority.
If you follow the work.
If you follow the work of Lathrop, you maintain seniority.
When Twilight is on one shift, is there going to be a rebid of full-time jobs? Is it going to be everyone's going to be, I'm going to go do this now, I'm going to do that now?
I hope everyone's going to do the actual job they did. The company is...
You been to West End?
Have you seen everybody at the pin on my shift? What do you mean? Have you seen everybody at the pin on my shift? We actually did their job.
There's no job, they're not adding 9 kilo jobs. There's only a handful of 9 kilo jobs now. That's staying the same.
Oh, okay. They're just qualified to be eligible for full-time.
Yeah, you guys are. Or if you're on the kilo, yeah, you are too. Just like the hub. Building seniority.
Wow. Can I answer this question? So I know you asked about feeder opportunities. So at Lathrop, I have 125 guys on roll right now. My lowest seniority part-time employee, November 2022, that's a feeder. So there's a lot of opportunities to go feeder like the baby. Yeah. And then on top of that, I tell guys to do it because then now you attain full-time days, so then now you're full-time. The opportunity in Lathrop is pretty good if you have at least 3 or 4 years of seniority in part-time.
Yeah.
Well,
But Mike and then Malachi.
So this 31,000 volume that you have labor next month, is that still staff meter work, shoving down there since they're doing it, or are they coming up here and taking their work?
So two sack ply loads that were on, one was on the runs SPO2 and SPO6 are now going to Lathrop.
Right.
Okay.
So I know that they're coming in, taking, over the past couple months, they've been taking more and more of the Amazons, more and more of the CPU work that we've been generally picking up.
So I don't know what's happening there. Are we picking up the CPU, bringing it back to the yard? They're coming in?
No, they would come in to Amazon and take the load directly from Amazon back to Lathrop.
They should not be doing that. We need agreement for that procedure. They should not be doing that.
That's why our Amazon loads have decreased with their processing. That's why our,
And I'll give you another thing here. So coming in July, UPS is supposed to knock off 40% of their annual. So I don't know if that will continue, but they should not be coming in and picking up our CPUs. That's our work.
yeah, our guys doing the CPU runs, they're saying, oh, we don't have
grievances before. You should file grievances.
Hey Dale, at about 40%, do you know how much is affecting our region?
I have no idea. That's just some corporate number that we threw out there. That they're no longer profitable with what Amazon's doing. So they're not going to carry it anymore.
Yeah, so kind of really what I was talking about earlier. Is there going to be a level of transparency of like the part-time and full-time jobs? Like, are we going to know who's going to be working, or is there somewhere we have to ask?
Well, the jobs will be posted, right? So everyone did the jobs. We'll go through those. So whoever has won that job, it'll be posted. Who has whatever? I don't even know what they're calling the jobs, right? But Twy job, 150, Malachi Johnson got it, right? So your name will be on that job.
Where is it?
It will be posted.
They got to fill the jobs first. And then once they fill the
They
jobs,
have to fill the jobs first before we can do anything. We don't know who's getting the full-time jobs, right? The 60 jobs could go to the 60 highest seniority employees, or they can go to the lowest 60 employees, right? Or a mix in between. We have no idea who's taking those jobs.
Yeah, I was just asking like where they would be posted, or like even the part.
We will have it posted on the union board.
yeah, and also too, there's also postings in that hallway right there. All the seniority stuff's posted in that hallway. Right there,
Between, underneath the theater department.
yeah, the fine lines, there's an office.
That's the seniority list. I'm talking about like the results of like who's getting to part-time jobs.
We will post the list. We will post it on the union board, which will most likely be in the hall there by the SAC 9 office, right?
Yeah.
There's one office on the one side.
Yeah. The 9 office.
Yeah. When they're on vacation. When they get on vacation.
So they're supposed to update September and August.
They're gonna come to their office still with the lady and most of it. Okay, now what do I do? Okay, I gotta sit down.
They're pretty good about
Just pick 60 random guys. Just put them.
So that will be updated after all this change out.
This is what I will also say. If they're no longer working there, you don't have to worry about them bidding the job. Well, if you're not mine, you can call me. You got a question. I don't see it. They're not working. But we will post the list.
That happens in many I've seen guys that haven't come in for like months and they'll come there working again. I'm like, how did you? Oh, we can be gone for like 3 weeks.
But the full-timers have been saying that Twy night is going to feel like one shift, 8 hours, half-hour break, or 4 hours, half-hour break, 4 hours. You guys said an hour in between. Is that not the case?
Our contract says that meal period is an hour.
Oh, so it's got to be an hour.
I don't know what the operation's going to say.
Okay.
But our contract says that the meal period is 1 hour in length. Or if they have you take a half an hour, they have to take you a half an hour's time and a half.
Oh, so they're probably not going to want to do that.
Big thing in package right now.
So it's probably going to be an hour then.
July 14th. So July 11th will be the last day that
They're probably just gonna combine lunch and break. Say 1 hour and then come back. Okay, here for that. Yeah, 1 hour, take a break while I want to know. Try and buy something, I'll talk with the guy, have my lunch, and then now I'm back for my
I just had a question because I talked to a shop steward last week, and there was a person who was putting their false seniority date, putting their actual hire date for UPS, and
happens all the time.
Am I gonna be like skipped for that?
No,
potential?
We verify that before we, I want to make
last 35 years, been a fucking bid put up where members were 100% accurate with their seniority dates. Okay? The process is you take the bids down, you put everybody in order based on seniority from the HR, right? They go into Workday, Gems now, or Workday, and they can tell what your actual seniority date is.
And that gets
And that's how we do it. I see it all the time. There was a bid up, a former supervisor signed a bid recently. I saw it and I laughed. I was like, that guy was my supervisor. He put his part-time date he got hired there. It was like 10 years earlier. It's like, oh, I forgot. Like, nobody forgets their seniority date. What's up, bro?
I'd like to know how does it work with the new jobs that were created? The full-timer in suits that just became Teamsters recently. How does that affect us as a whole?
So a supervisor?
I don't think everyone knows.
Are you talking about the specialists?
Yes, but full-time specialists now
The
became part
specialists
of
have a
our
seniority date of October 27th of 2024. Okay? Now they are slotted in based on their original hire date with the company. That is their full-time seniority date. They can bid the jobs, right? But it's highly unlikely they're going to bid these jobs working in the hub. And if they do, then their jobs come open for bid.
But they have to leave their job in order for their job to become bid.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So part of the master agreement, the MOU that allowed us to get those employees was that they are locked in on their jobs. They can't be bumped out of them. When they vacate the job, it goes up for bid.
Wait, so you said the specialist, their seniority date is their hire date or October 27th?
October 27th.
That's their seniority.
That's the day they became Teamsters. That is their seniority date. But in that group of, was it 7 or 9? 7. In that group of 7, they're slotted in their original hire dates within their own group. So if all 7 of them bid for a job, right, they would go to the first one hired. Yes.
We're looking at July 11th, last day of work. When should we expect phone calls for like what's happening?
We should know within I'm hoping they get all of the bids done this week, right? And then we can start making the phone calls this week. Right. So you know prior to starting your week. Malachi.
So all the people, so these 60 jobs are open to Maker, I think you said Cordelia?
No. So the 60 jobs, the way our contract reads is the first 60 jobs, they listed what they would be doing. They are open to all full-time employees because all full-time work has to be offered to full-time employees first. After that, they will hire 60 part-timers to backfill these positions.
But those bids are, Cordelia people are able to make?
No one, well, listen, if you have followed work in from Cordelia, you are currently a Sacramento employee. Cordelia no longer plays. So if they're from Cordelia and they're here, they get the bid to work as well.
And all the seniority, does full-time drivers can come back in the feeder, or can the feeder do it too, or just the heavy?
Feeder relief drivers can bid for work, right? But that position will be filled as well by a part-time employee to cover that work.
I'm just thinking competition.
It's a competitive overhead.
That's what it is. Whose leg do I have to break to confirm that I'm going to have that?
They're very, yes, but again, those jobs are going to be filled backfilled with 60. We're going to make 60 part-time employees, full-time employees. Now they may just bounce around from one job to another every day, but they will be full-time. Full-time pension, full-time vacation, full-time holiday pay.
So those part-timers with like 19, 18 years that have a lot of hope there for a full-time job.
If you've been there part-time for 19 to 18, 19 years, I would bet you're getting a full-time job if you want. Or you're going to be able to just stay where you're at. Yes, sir.
You're a part-timer, and you go full-time, so we have an LOU, so if you're 22, if you're full-time, 23 full-timer, the LOU allows you to work Mondays and Saturdays. That's good. To drive. All the days. ECFAB Tuesday to Saturday as a full-timer?
Holidays and Friday. I believe the hub's only running Monday through Friday. The hub's only Monday through Friday.
You know, a while back, there was that whole thing that they're going to build the hub out by Amazon and
Metro Air Parkway, they have it sitting out there.
Yeah, they were going to close down some of the other small hubs, Rockland, and things like that.
No.
So with us being automated, I'm assuming that they're going to, all that money invested, they're not closing us down. But is there still any potential of Rockland, Cordova, any threats of them being closed?
No. No, so when UPS closes a building, right, they look at, okay, if we close this building, how do we deliver these areas, right? They say, okay, in our instance with the Cordelia one, they said, well, Sacramento can fit out to Midway and to Vacaville, so we'll move that into there, right? These other areas will move into the North Bay building, right? So they look at who's going to do the work. If they close the Rancho Cordova building, then the closest buildings to it are West Sacramento and then Rockland. Well, they go all the way up to Placerville. You're not running a package car from Rockland or West Sac to Placerville. The other side, the next closest building is in Minden, Nevada. So there's no way they can do that. They're already set up. Right? So I think we're good on it. What else?
If we don't go full-time on July 14th, the part-timers, are they safe or are they possible more cuts when we do the automation?
We don't know what they're going to do in the automation, right? What I'm hoping they do is they utilize the building they've been paying for up there in Metro Air. So we were told more than a year ago they were actually going to move us into that building. The transit time from that building to Lathrop, Fresno, and Visalia, they got skittish about it because it adds about 20 minutes of transit. Right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So now they want to automate this one. What I'm hoping that they do this for us is to put what they call a village in there, temporary structure, to remind us completely out of it, while they automate our building.
Okay.
I think that's what the IE guys want to do. Because it's going to be less headaches for everyone, but it is an expensive.
Yeah.
Knowing UPS, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. They could shut down half of the building, but this is all going to come next year. It really isn't playing out now. I just wanted to let you guys know what they are talking about.
Okay.
So there is options.
Okay.
Yes.
Have they announced a date for when the automation is supposed to start? They just said sometime next year. January 4th.
I'm sure they have it all ready to go.
They're kind of ballpark thinking maybe February.
What's that?
They're thinking maybe ballpark February.
So talking to the IE guys, the initial IE guys, they're not sure what they're going to do. They know that this building needs to be automated for what they want to do nowadays, right? They just don't have a good option. We are literally sitting in the best location in Northern California for them to be able to run their operation. So they don't want to shut it down completely. But our building is also the smallest. We are by far the smallest. We are half the size of the other.
Is it not including because you're on the left level?
Well, we're not the only one, right? I would say that the buildings in Oakland or San Francisco are older, right? But they're much bigger. I mean, what do you got, 39 on doors in Oakland?
Yeah.
What do you got in Lathrop? 30? No. Right. North Bay, I haven't been there since they redid it, but I heard it's twice as big as it was when I was going in there, and they were fucking huge. Right? I've been to the Hayward building, and you can hit our building 4 or 5 times in that property. I ain't lying. It is huge. It is huge. One side of the building, and they have little box lines in there. 3 or 4 of them, they're not even using it. They're bigger than ours.
I have 2 questions. They, over in the Lathrop building, so they do train people to drive Class A vehicles? And is there utility opportunities out there to drive package? Okay.
Yeah, they just moved the Stockton building into the Lathrop building.
So if you fall over to Lathrop and utility qualify already, you're gonna fall into the seniority list over there where your seniority lands. Right?
No, you'll have to stay right where you're doing it. Well, that's Ezekiel said that.
All right.
Because they're following the part-timers, they're not following the utility. Yes, sir.
So it is package car work at Lathrop?
I didn't hear your question.
There is package car work at Lathrop now?
Oh, yeah. How many package routes you went out of there?
Now with both centers, probably about
170 routes.
So there is utility work? You follow?
Well, if you follow the work, you're following the part-time piece.
Right. You would still, once you got there, you have your seniority. If you want to be a utility driver, you sign your utility list in March, right? You put up in March, and then you get to go in based on your seniority. You will have your part-time seniority that you had here, which will enable you to utility driver.
But you'll have to wait till March so you will be able to drive your feet.
Well, I'm sure during peak, they probably work.
That would be another vehicle, right? That would be another vehicle, yeah, if you'd be able to drive your feet.
Theoretically, you'd be able to. It's not a guarantee, but most likely they need drivers. We need utility guys during peak, right? We need them, they're going to need them as well.
Yes, Dale. Let's say I had a transfer to a year. Would be going to Northville, like Richmond, would that be a viable option?
No.
No.
No, that's a transfer, you would lose your seniority. You could transfer in there as a part-time employee, but you would lose your seniority. You'd still maintain your pay rate, your years of service and all that, but you'd be at the bottom of your part-time seniority. I wouldn't recommend it. What's that?
Is there full-time building work at Lathrop?
Part-time? Yeah, there is. Depends on how many years you have to come to.
Anything else? We wrap this up? Any more questions, you guys? You got them asked them. Answer them as we can. You should know.
Yeah, we talked about kind of metro, kind of sort of temporary facility. Are they able to utilize those 4 blocks that they just gave them up?
No. They don't. Well, they could have, but they gave them up. When I tell you about UPS and its infinite system. Right?
I've been thinking the same thing.
They're in the 22 acres in the Port of Sacramento for $11,000 a month. They got rid of that. Because they can transport everything to the Metro Air Parkway, they pay $5 million a year for that. So that's the order of the size. That's UPS is the wisdom. That actually got the ID guys almost jump out of the bridge. So not only is that cost like just ridiculous, right? The amount of money they got to pay the driver to travel from West Sacramento to that road, in fact, it actually adds up to millions of dollars a year. We'll take it. That's UPS. When I got hired, I was told by an old timer, might have been that guy right there. It might have been Kevin Dyer, that UPS would jump over a nickel or jump over $1 to save a nickel.
Right. Well, it is.
Well, let me go with the best.